Hello there, and welcome back to another weekly episode of Just Say Something's podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And you can find us anywhere you find your local or your favorite podcast. Hopefully, we're one of those. So, if you're looking at the camera, you see two gentlemen in front of you, and I'm just going to say it's Nick and Tyler, and it's probably going to end up being the Nick and Tyler show. And I'm just going to be the referee, although I don't have a complete striped shirt or a whistle. But so I want both of you to take just a second to introduce yourselves.
I would prefer the face of hope.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Face of hope.
My bad. My bad.
Yeah.
So Tyler may look familiar. Well, Nick too, because they were on the Chronicle series, State of Addiction, that Channel 4 did with us or for us back in March. And so Tyler received the title of Face of Hope. And so Tyler and our Face of Hope and Nick, introduce yourselves, and then as part of that, tell us just a little bit about your background, and then we'll get further into it.
You want me to
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, my name's Tyler. Like you said, the face of hope. I am 9 years. We'll be 9 years sober in August. I think. Yeah, August 26th. I'm the CEO of a local manufacturing company. I got 2 kids.
Yeah.
Beautiful wife.
Yep, you do.
Yes, you know. Yep. Let's see. Like I said, I got sober from Adderall in 2016, and yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Okay. All right, Nick.
Well,
your turn.
Quick. I might go a little longer.
I try to be as to the point as I can.
Yeah. So
We have a timer.
I grew up in Florida. Lived in Atlanta twice. Since we're talking about recovery, I'm in recovery as well. In 2009 in Atlanta, I went to treatment and I got sober and worked for. I was in the food industry for 30 years and went to a sober living after treatment and did that for 6 months. There's a lot more that goes with that. But I ended up volunteering at this sober living, very structured sober living, and did 6 months there and volunteered thereafter in early 2010, worked there part-time. They asked me to come on and work part-time. So I did that job as well as my full-time food industry job. And eventually in late 10, they asked me to come full-time. And that journey started there. I know we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I am married to a lady that I've known since 3rd grade that you know very well.
Yes, Miss Audrey.
Miss Audrey. And it's kind of like Tyler. So I'm sure we're going to get into some of that. So I've been in Greenville since 18.
And Nick is also a member of our board of directors, newly elected just a couple of months ago. So, all right, guys. So as we look at your journey, a couple of questions I want to ask you, especially for the parents that are listening out there. What age was your initial use and what was it?
Let's see. My initial use, I was 11 and it was alcohol. My dad bought me my first drink. Yeah, I know, right? On a cruise. It was a pina colada. And but yeah, I've been drinking since I was 11. Started using Adderall in my 20s, 28, 29. So I started a little late with that. But before that, smoked weed, drank, stuff like that. So I started early.
Okay.
So
all right. Okay. Nick, what age and what was it?
Technically, sips from my dad's beer at an early age.
How early?
6, 7, just little sips, just little. I never saw my dad drunk. Okay. But just, as a kid, just in 6th grade, this is it's a long story. I was on a baseball trip and the coach was a young coach, but that was back in the 70s. And so we went on a baseball trip and it was the coach and three guys on the team. I'm still friends with them. We ended up getting a bunch of beer. I probably had 2 or 3 on that trip, but the power of it, there was something about it, and something happened that I got away with a baseball bag full of beer, and it started the obsession. There's an obsession piece that you may understand it. I know for sure he understands it. That started the obsession. So I didn't drink in 6th grade regularly or 7th grade, but 8th grade is when it really started. It was weekly. I went to school, played sports, but on the weekends, staying at houses, and it was somewhat regular then, and then all through high school, weekends. And I thought everybody was doing it.
Right.
Really.
Right.
So 8th grade really is when it really took off.
All right. All right. So as you look back, with both of you being in recovery, and congratulations for that, what made that switch, or what happened to make you go into, to say, all right, I'm going to go into recovery, and knowing, when you go in, I know for some people, recovery means different things for different people. So, your treatment, I guess I'm asking, did you have to go more than once? But what precipitated that initial, I need to go get help?
So my wife told me I could either go to treatment or I could get out of the house, and she didn't care which one it was.
Oh, okay.
So
all right, Laura.
She told me, she said, "Hey, you can either go to treatment, you can move out, and I don't particularly care which one you choose." And so I didn't really want to get better at the time, but then once I went to rehab, I decided, you know what, this is my chance to get away from this thing that has consumed my life. Like you said, it's an obsession, it's a relationship, it's hard to explain. You love it. Like I loved Adderall. It was like I was going to have to break up with it. And I figured this is my one shot to get out of it. So I took that shot, and I only went once 30 days. And after that, I came home, went to IOP, which is intensive outpatient. So for about a year and a half, and I still go to therapy. I was in therapy this morning, actually. And so, yeah, that was sort of my journey, but I didn't want to get better. I had to be pushed. So it wasn't like but once I went and I decided I was going to get better, I took the reins, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it all the way. So.
Well, and Laura gave you the ultimatum.
That was literally what she told me. You either go to treatment or you're getting out. I don't care. Either way. Either way, it's up to you. So.
All right, Nick.
And I'll just say this. A lot of times, even though his wife said that, that's I commend you for that, because that's not really.
You don't know his wife.
Yeah, she 100% admitted it. I was either going to rehab or I was going to be living on the street. My wife don't play like that, so I knew 100%.
You did, but you know what I'm saying.
No, I know exactly what you're saying.
There's many people that have consequences as bad as that is, because you had kids.
Yeah,
right.
That, and even more so that don't do it.
Yeah,
right.
So that was really big and good of him to take that and take heed to what she said. So,
and actually, my wife was pregnant with our second one, so she definitely wasn't playing around.
Right.
She meant every word of it. So,
and so, Nick, what was that motivation factor for you?
Mine was, there was a few things. One, I was a little older at the time, and I was losing it. Like in my mind, I had moments of clarity, and there was a few times, not many, but there were a few. There
was one you told me about.
There were a few where I thought I'm going to lose my mind, and because I started using in the morning. I wasn't a daily user. I was a binger. I mean, I would plan it because I had kept my job, and so I could go 4 days on and 2 days off, 3 days on. I just worked it out that way. But when I went, it was full steam. But I really was starting to lose it, and mentally and the physical piece, because I started doing it more daily. It started becoming a daily thing, and then I went through. I was separated. I was married at that time, and I was separated, and it was just chaotic. But that was the main. It was. I really thought I was just really losing my mind, and that really did it for me. That was the main thing. There's other things, but that was a big one.
Okay. And so both of you, your journeys have been different. Your length of time in sobriety has been different. What's that one or two thing that during this journey of recovery have you learned, I guess, about yourself that you didn't realize before? That, yeah, go ahead.
So I realized, so I was an Adderall addict, right? So I took Adderall to work. I was a terrible addict. I didn't do it for fun necessarily. And I had developed this imposter syndrome when you're on Adderall. You know, it's like, I have to have this to be smart. This is what's making me. And one thing I learned, I didn't need it. I'm perfectly smart. I didn't need it. But I've had to learn how to, because I am rampant ADD, super ADD. So I've had to learn how to manage it through other things. But the thing I realized was I was a crutch. I didn't need it. I just thought I did.
Right.
So
right.
That was one thing. It's given me a ton of confidence. I mean, you know how I am. Confidence has never been a problem for me, but in the beginning it was fake. It was not based on anything. And since I've gotten sober, I've become way more confident in myself and who I am, myself as a father, as a CEO, as a person. That was a big thing that helped me. Once I realized I could do this, I could do anything.
Okay. So. All right. Cool. Thank you, sir. Mr. Nick?
So what, can you say that question again?
So as you look back on your journey from recovery, what have you learned about yourself now that you're sober to help motivate you to stay that way, maybe?
Well, in the beginning, I wanted to know, when I started at an early age, and so 30 years I was out there. In the beginning, I'm not promoting it, by the way, there was some fun times. Most people go through a stage, okay? Then they move on with life, early 20s, 20 years old, whatever. Him and I, we keep going up that mountain. So I learned when I got sober, I wanted to know why I kept doing it. Like Tyler was saying, why it wasn't fun anymore. Like it was way past that.
Right.
So I wanted to know why. So I did therapy and did all that with family things. And I wanted to know why, what took me there. So I learned a lot of things about that. That would take a long time for us to talk about. As I continue with it, I don't have the obsession anymore. And we went to lunch and we talked about that. Some people have 10, 20 years and they go to meetings every day, an AA, whatever meeting.
Right.
And that's great.
Right.
If that's what they need to do. And that, my recovery is different than it was the first year, 2 years, whatever,
Right.
So what I learned is that it didn't define me anymore. That was a long time ago. It defined who I was. Like when they said, and I try not to tell, especially young people, you can never drink or drug again. Cause I did my drugs were cocaine and alcohol.
Okay.
In my 20s, it was just those two. I tried all of them and those two did it for me. I don't try to tell people when you try to get them into recovery or go to rehab or whatever they need to do. You can never do this again. That doesn't sit well.
No, especially in the beginning. In the beginning, it's like, but this is because some of them it's still fun. Like you said, it stopped being fun for me.
Yes,
long time ago.
Right.
Like it was. I just had to do it to feel normal. And I know if any doctors out there, because I always say this, like I was taking 25 to 3,500 milligrams of Adderall in the morning for breakfast.
Good Lord!
Just to get out of bed. Like that was just to feel like a human.
Wow.
I wasn't getting high anymore at all. Like high was something that was way in the past.
Right.
And like you said, it's fun till it's not. And then when it's not, it's really not.
It's miserable.
Miserable.
Right.
You're terrible. That's all you think about is how am I going to get drugs? When am I going to do drugs? That's it. And it's a terrible feeling. But when you're first starting, you're like, well, this is how I have fun. You think this is fun, and you can't tell them that, because if you do, they'll
blow you off.
Yeah, they're not going to want to hear it.
Okay.
And yeah, you're just doing it. But if it was more in the beginning, like first 3-5 years is where I was like, it didn't define me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And now I deal with life's problems, just
Right.
normal life's problems. Right. But I don't look at myself as that I don't need to have some, like I work in the industry, so, we didn't talk about that. But, I counsel people and work with people and volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
That helps me. I do have, my recovery program still. We're not above it, is what we're doing. And I'm talking because I'm sure he'll agree with it. I'm not talking about
No.
But we're not above it. Mm-mm. We could go right back out and do it. But we don't have that anymore.
That desire.
We don't have the desire anymore. But it could. That's why you hear the corny saying. But I think it's for everybody. The one day at a time. It's cliche, but I think it goes for everybody. But really for addicts and out, it really is, especially in the beginning. So.
And I always tell people too, everybody's like, oh, you're not an addict anymore. Oh, no, I am an addict. I am just currently an addict who's not using drugs today. I could use them tomorrow, but when I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to not use them. Like, that's my whole thing. Right. You never cease being a drug. You're always going to be a drug addict. You're just one who isn't using.
We're recovered.
Or recovering.
But we're not cured.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I've had people say, oh, you're cured. Oh, no, not cured. Never cured. Never cured.
Because once we get to that point,
mm-hmm.
then it gets a little...
It's a little dangerous.
So, I see people, and you do too, I'm sure, 25 years go back out.
Oh, yeah.
30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
For something, something tragic happened in their life, and they can't handle it. They go back to that solution.
Crutch.
Yeah.
Is crutch?
It's a crutch. Yeah, I would call it a crutch. I would call it a pain, like a self-medicated.
Self-medicating.
Yeah, like like you said, right now I handle my problems. I go to therapy once a week. I talk about it. I figure out what's wrong, and that's been a big part of helping me. But like I said, I'm one bad day away from being right back out there, and you never know what that one bad day is going to be or what the thing is, and you just try your best to deal with it. Like you said, it is cliche, but it is how I live my life, one day at a time.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say one more thing about that. So yes, one day at a time. But I don't personally, for me, and I think because we talk,
yeah.
I don't struggle with it I don't think about it. I don't struggle with it every day. Are there times once in a blue moon that something passes through my head with it? Yes, but I don't struggle daily with it. And I want people that are new in recovery to understand that you don't have to, as time goes on, there's a lot of scientific components to the brain as well,
right?
That you have to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is through faith. And then I needed time. We just needed time. Now, do I believe God can come down and he does it? Some people can just quit on their own.
Right.
It's not common.
Right.
But it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
But we need help and fellowship and support.
Connection.
Yes.
And relationships.
Yes, that's correct.
Connection, very important, because a lot of addicts, they isolate, especially once they get to the point where they're, as we say, call it chasing the dragon. Once you get to that point, you're just by yourself because you don't want to share, one. And two is you're miserable.
Right.
You're just a terrible, miserable person.
Let me say something else because you'll understand this. The newer people, the guys and the gals that are new to it, recovery.
New to recovery.
Yeah.
Into recovery, they feel unique.
Mm-hmm.
That they did something more than the other guy or gal. They think their problems, they may have some thoughts, and they try to process everything themselves. And that's where you get in trouble because I work with people, and I did sober living for 12 years. I worked in a very structured sober living.
Right.
And we did counseling and so on and so forth. And I would talk to him, and I'm like, you need to process what you're trying to figure out, because you'll drive yourself crazy. Am I thinking right? Am I thinking wrong? Is this right? Is that wrong? Am I a bad person for having some thoughts? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they just go in a spin and sideways. But once they start talking around other, going to meetings or whatever way they're doing it, smart recovery, AA, NA, therapy, then they start to be able to call someone and go, hey, because sometimes I'll deal with something. I still have people that I can call.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hey, just let me run this by you.
Right.
After 16 years, I try not to hold these. I got to get it out and figure it out. And they're like, no, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, like I've been going to therapy for 9 years. I don't talk about drugs anymore. Like in the beginning, it was very much, why did you do? Now when we don't talk about drugs, we talk about my relationships and stuff like that. I mean, it's just good to have somebody to talk to.
Right. Right.
And so, yeah, it's definitely not in the beginning, I'd say first year, every day, don't do drugs, don't do drugs, don't do drugs. Just in the back of my head. And then after about a year, your brain gets back to somewhat normal. I'd say probably a year, 18 months, starts kind of getting better and you start thinking normally. And after about 2 years, you're probably more back to reality, like a human being.
Right.
And then, from that point on, it's just, it doesn't define who I am. It's something I'm proud of, something I did, but it doesn't define who I am as a person. I'm open about it. I tell anybody.
Right. 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 Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so he was like a year, get a year. But see, the thing about recovery and addiction, it's not like, okay, everybody's different. It's different.
Different.
Like,
it's not flipping a switch.
It's not. It could take, it takes literally sometimes 3 to 5 years over time, you get better.
Right.
You get better. And for me, I'll just say for me, emotionally, my emotions were super high for myself, growing up as a man, you couldn't show, a lot of emotions.
Right.
But, I went through a lot of things emotionally that I just couldn't handle. That piece took me about, over time, it was way, it was little by little, but it took, 3 years, give or take.
Right.
Just the emotional piece of everything, because I was out there 30 years. So I had to process 30 years. That's why we try to get these guys and gals when they're young. So they don't have 30 or 20 years or 15 years.
Right. Right. So as you look back when you first started, what would you, or is there something you could tell yourself then that would have prevented or would have sent you a different direction?
Oh, that's a tough question. That's a really.
We might need to go back to.
Wait a second. Hold on. Give us a minute to go talk. Let's see if we can figure something out. I don't know. To be quite honest with you, I don't think so. And I'll say this too. I'm where I am in my life because of all the things that I went through to get here, and I don't know if I would change it. I know that sounds weird, a weird thing to say for somebody, but had I not gone through it and gotten to where I am, I wouldn't be me.
Right. Right.
So I don't know that. I think the one thing I would say to younger me is, "Hey, look, man, you're gonna go through some stuff, but you're gonna get better.
Okay.
But it's gonna be a ride.
Right.
Like
right.
It's gonna suck before it gets better."
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I see Mr. Nick. I see those wheels rolling.
You see me thinking. He says I think.
Yeah, I can definitely see it. You can see it going.
I'm with Tyler with that mainly. It's really a tough call. It's hindsight, really.
Right. Right.
For me, I don't know. I don't really have an answer for that. I will say this though, that question and the answer and the solution and all that, I would do for young people now.
Okay.
Like, let's not ask that question to the 15-year-old right now.
Right.
When he's 35 and sober and he's gone. that's why you guys do it. We do it. Just say something. Is
Right.
we get in there early
to prevent.
Yeah, that's a really tough question. Maybe we need to think about that. And
It is.
We
really,
can do another
let's do
podcast
that.
on that
And
one.
we could probably do a whole hour on that. And I will say this too. The other thing about it is if you could, I could go crazy spinning about all the things that I could have done differently to change things.
Right.
It would drive you crazy just being like, well, what if I'd have done, what if I'd done, you know, especially with ADD, like I was like, well, if I'd have gotten Adderall earlier, would I have done better in school, or would I have just become a drug addict earlier? You know, it's, you know, you could do the what if game a lot with that. And it's tough. And I think what Nick's saying is right. Get them young, tell them, hey, give that advice to the young people now, because we can't go back and give it to young us.
Right. So,
and that's why just say something is very important.
Right.
And what we're doing here.
So, and that leads me right into our next question. If there was one piece of advice to give to a parent today that maybe they found a pill or powder in their child's room, what would your advice be to that parent who says, oh my God, look what I just found?
Okay, I've thought about this a lot because I've been in a lot of groups with kids. And one, just because you found a little bit of weed or something doesn't necessarily mean your kid is a drug addict. Learn about it, talk to them about it. Don't just automatically be like, oh my God, he's a drug addict, and send them to, because if you send them to some type of drug recovery, they'll turn them into an addict.
Right.
If you sit them in a room full of addicts, they'll turn into one real quick. But talk to the kids. Don't just take it and say, oh my God, my kid's a bad kid because he has a joint. Ask your kid, why are you doing, what is this? What's going on in your, talk to them like a normal, like you would an adult. I think treat them with respect, ask them, talk to them, and get to know why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
Now they could have a problem. I'm not saying that they don't, there are some that 100% need to go to some type of program, but not all of them. And I think the question is you just need to talk to them and don't freak out about it. Just talk to them. Like I said, try to find out, just say something. Just like you said, just say something. I think that's the best advice I could give to parents. And like, I'm open about my use with my kids. My daughter is 12 and my daughters are 12 and 8. And they know daddy can't drink. Daddy's was in rehab. I'm open with them about it. So they know that it's in their genes and to be careful.
Okay. So, all right. Cool.
If they find something, it's probably not the first time that kid's doing it. I would agree with Tyler on talking to them first.
Right.
Sitting down, like a lot of times parents, excuse me, because I work with families too.
Right.
So parents don't spend time. They're working, this is going on, they got this, that, and the other going on. Set scheduled time and sit down and have a conversation, not in passing. Sit down and talk and find out. But you can also learn like where they're at a little bit, like who they're hanging out with. Are they hanging out in their room and isolating a lot? If they're we talked about that. You talked about that a lot on the news,
right?
Chronicles of Addiction. Some of the things Stacy talked about, which you got to look at the entire picture, not just. And then if you're finding different drugs, then you get into some. But I'm not discounting weed either, because let me make this real clear on weed. Weed is super these days. I think, and you can look this up. I'm not 100%, but it's like 17 to 20% THC now. Now, in our day, Phil, and you're a little bit younger, but even it was
seeds and stems.
It was low. Like it's not.
It's
even,
like 2 or 3%.
If you got some good stuff, you maybe got 2 or 3%.
Right. It's not even comparable. And weed does a lot of things that people don't realize. A lot of parents will, they're just doing weed.
Yeah.
Okay. Weed does a lot, and that's a whole nother topic. Maybe.
I've had a mother come in before and she's like, because her son is now, I think, 32.
Mhm.
And she says, when I first found marijuana in his bedroom, my thought was, it's just a little bit of marijuana.
Mhm.
She says, all of our lives have been wrecked because it was a little bit of marijuana.
And that's one thing too. I hate it when people call weed a gateway drug. It's just a drug. They're all drugs.
Mhm.
There's no such thing as gateways. Like if you're smoking weed, you're probably doing something else. Like it's not a gateway. It's
Right.
It's a drug.
Yep.
I mean, it can ruin your life just like any other drug can ruin your life.
Mhm.
Weed,
Right.
a lot of weed addicts smoke it all day long.
All day.
Right.
That's all they do.
Professionals, it doesn't matter what your profession is.
Right.
They're not just doing it, before they go to bed or,
Mhm.
very rarely. I'm general when we talking about this, it's general.
Right.
I mean, for the most part, but the weed is smoked all day long.
All
Right.
day.
And over time, think about this. You're inhaling weed, THC. Just think if you got a weed addict that's been doing it every day for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you eat, no offense to McDonald's, but if you eat McDonald's every day for 10 years, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
It's an analogy there, but weed is, and now they're putting other stuff in the weed.
Right.
I don't know the stats on that.
Mhm.
But we know they're putting.
You can get fentanyl in weeds
Right.
now.
Right.
And also too, now they're not even smoking weed. Now they're just taking gel caps of God knows what's. And
Right.
I mean,
That's a good point.
you don't even have to smoke it anymore. Now you can just eat it.
Right.
You can go into the vape store, and
Yeah.
and really you're not sure.
I mean, I bought a vape in one of the vape stores in Simpsonville, and it was 3.5% THC.
Jeez.
And so
Don't tell anybody what store. That's
yeah. But that's another issue that is coming up in the state legislature. It's medicinal. It's for medicine. What other medicine has the public voted on to ever take before?
That's a fair point.
Oh,
And I do think there are some people who, if it's prescribed medically used properly, that is one thing. Like I took Adderall; it was prescribed. My first drug dealer was my doctor because it was prescribed to me.
right, right,
And there's a lot of people who are taking Adderall, but it was not right. I was not using it medicinally, if
Right.
you will.
Right.
I mean, I think there are some medicinal
Sure.
uses for it,
Yes.
but it has to be prescribed. It has to be controlled. It has to be,
right.
done properly under
Right.
the care of a doctor. That's different than just saying, "Hey, it's legal."
Right,
I got a headache, so I smoked weed today.
right, right.
And I don't know everything and we're talking about weed, but you have, and you're right, they're medicinal but generally they're not using it medicinally.
Mhm.
Like if you have somebody that was a veteran,
Mhm.
I don't know what it's like to go over there and be in war and fight and have shots fight. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of real PTSD out there that
Mhm.
they may need, a
Something.
medicinal, whatever it may be. They have it for, the anesthesia, whatever they have a use for it.
Well, and
But-
a lot of those uses are now available in pill form
Mhm.
from your doctor as a prescription that you would
Mhm.
pick up at a local CVS or Walgreens or that
Ye-
kind of thing.
It-
And we could go on for hours about
Oh.
this particular thing. So we need to bring this to a close. So
Okay.
what I want to do this time, and trust me, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
And if
All
you
right.
if y'all want to come in and take over one day, then we can
It'll
just
be the longest podcast in Just Say Something History. It'll be 4.5 hours long. It'll be like the Snyder cut of the
Yeah.
Justice League.
and I commend you both. You've kept it pretty clean.
Hey,
And I know how you are, Tyler.
I did all my stuff in the parking lot before I got in here.
Yep. So if there was one piece of advice that you could give to a mom and dad, they know something's going on with their kid.
Mhm.
They don't know what to do. What's that one piece of advice that you can give them to make them take that next step?
Call you guys.
Oh, okay.
That's what I would say. Call somewhere like this, somewhere that can help give you the tools to talk to them, because if you don't, like, me and Nick understand what it's like to be a drug addict.
Right.
People don't understand.
Right.
And if there's truly a problem, you need some tools, you need help.
Right.
Learn, like my wife learned about addiction and she's been great about it.
Mm-hmm.
She completely understands it. She threw herself into it. She probably knows about as much about being an addict as someone who is not an addict can know.
Right.
And so I think that's what you do. You have to find somewhere like this that can give you some tools and help teach you something.
Okay. All right.
They need to call a professional,
Mm-hmm.
and they need to be open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard in the beginning for parents to. My son or my daughter is a straight A student. They're good, and it's true.
Right.
Very well, and it's hard for them, and I understand that piece. That I've got a valedictorian that's a drug addict,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm pushing it there. But there's valedictorians.
I was
that
about
are
to
drug
say, are
addicts.
you?
100%. 100%.
Do we have time to? Can I tell you this one quick story? Do we have time?
I know you. There's no such thing as a quick story, but go ahead.
Because I wanted to tell you this point. So I had this I work in counseling, so they need to get with a professional. I had a neighbor who said, "Can you talk to my friend? They have a 30-ish-year-old son that he's in a faith-based sober living. He has nothing." I said, "Yeah, I'll talk to him." I try to help out when I can. So I
Right.
called them, and I needed to get the background story on everything. Like, when did he start? When did this happen? He's been arrested. How many arrests did he have?
Yeah.
I needed to know everything. And he's at this place for 40 days, and he's trying to get out of there and come back home.
Mm-hmm.
And they've rescued him. And nothing against the parents. They
Right.
don't know. They've never been educated.
Right.
They're just trying to help out. But they kind of knew the answer. So I got all the information. I'm talking to them. And I said, and so he's trying to get out of there now after 40 days.
Yeah.
I said, and trying to go live with them. And he goes, "I don't want to use it." I said, "Absolutely 100% no." And so he's in this place. Everything is free ride. It's a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
I looked it up. Is it the Ritz-Carlton? No. Is it where he's getting some help?
Right.
Yes. I looked it up, and they told me what they do there.
Mm-hmm.
So he has no money. And anyway, I told him that for sure. And they're like, "Yeah, we agreed." So everything I was telling them, they were agreeing. They knew kind of what the deal was,
Yeah.
Right.
but they just couldn't. So long story short of it, we kept talking. We talked twice, a total of about 2 hours. I said, they go, "We want to look for another place in Charlotte." And I knew some places up there that he can go to. I said, "I know some places." She goes, "We just don't know what to do." I said, "You don't need to do anything. He's right where he needs to be.
Right there.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got 40 days. Let him finish the program in 6
Yeah.
months. Then they move him to another place. He can start working. He lives in another, and then he'll move to a house,
Mhm.
and he'll get
Progressive
about
steps.
a year."
Mhm.
I said, "You don't need to do anything." And I told him this to end what I'm going to tell you. I said, "My recommendation is you guys get counseling.
Mhm.
Yep.
Whether not, I'm not trying to, sell you my services.
Right.
If you need somebody where you're at, then you let me know and I'll try to get you somewhere. But you guys need to go or get into a group of either Al-Anon or some group like that, a church group where you have other people
Right.
you can learn from."
Mm-hmm.
And that was my message. So they agreed with me on everything. At the end, the second time I called them to check on him, they said, "You know what? We're not doing anything. He's going to stay right where
I thought
he's
you
at."
were going to say that.
No,
I thought you were going
no.
to say he was living back at home. I was 100% that was what you were going to say. Oh, yeah, we let him back home and he's gone off the rails.
No, he's been doing this since like 11th grade.
Right.
So he's been 15 years now. So it's time.
Mhm.
He's right where he needs to be.
Right,
So
right,
anyway,
right.
that's what I wanted.
And where we need to be at the end of this particular podcast. And so I want to thank you guys for being here
Enjoyed
with
it.
us.
This is
It was
good.
awesome. Enjoyed it.
Again, this is Phillip Clark with Just Say Something and our weekly podcast. You can find us wherever you find your favorite podcasts. That's Just Say Something Podcast. And please be sure, as Nick keeps reminding me, to like,
Just
subscribe, share, and comment.
at least just
Hit the like button.
Just
Hit that bell for the notification bell
Just hit it. We're
on YouTube.
trying to grow the channel. This
Yeah.
Just Say Something is a tremendous resource for young people and families, and so just hit the like.
Just hit the like.
Hit the like.
Just hit the like.
That's all you got to do. Hit the like button.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Appreciate
Enjoyed
it.
it.